Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Go. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Sutara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvikacharya Sutara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vatsari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Manamaya Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Granthad Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Briyat Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Krishna Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Welcome to the most auspicious Radha Kalashanji Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 3. We'll do verses 44 through 51, finishing the chapter. We're almost done with Canto 4. Wow. We'll be starting Canto 5 pretty soon. Start off with Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Atiravan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Radha Madhava Sri Radhe Radha Madhava Sri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. These next mantras we'll sing together, both the Sanskrit and the English, please. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vasyam tato jayam udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, and Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta preya shabreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasoke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance on the classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the person of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyan Temarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Okay, wow. From Monday, I feel like we're Got a lot of people here for a Monday. This is amazing. Thank you all so much for coming. Very excited. So we're reading verses from Canto 4, chapter 30, text 44 through 51. And the topic today is living life in alignment with nature. So the Prachetas have just done great penance underwater, believe it or not. Wow. And Lord Vishnu comes, Krishna comes. Krishna is pleased with their sacrifice, their meditation. And so now he's given them his blessings, and they're coming out of the water, and they're seeing, they're going to see the world and the situation of what the world is at the moment. Okay, let's turn to 44, and if we could read one at a time, please. We only got a few. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare. This 44 is, this first one is going to be our focus verse of the day.
Thereafter all the Prachetas emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, Prachetas became very angry.
So I'm imagining, what's it called, in the redwood forest? These huge trees, probably even much bigger than these trees, just coming up to, and all over the world. Pretty interesting, huh? Okay, 45, please.
My dear king, at the time of devastation, Lord Shiva emits fire and air from his mouth out of anger. To make the surface of the earth completely treeless, the Prachetas also emanated fire and air from their mouths.
Whoa, what comes out of Lord Shiva's mouth? Fire and air. Interesting, right? Whew. That's got to be a scene. Okay, 46, please.
After seeing that all the trees on the surface of the earth were being turned to ashes, Lord Brahma immediately came to the sons of King Barhishman and pacified them with words of logic.
Dustin, how did Lord Brahma pacify them? With
words of logic.
Words of logic. Interesting. 47, please.
The remaining trees became much afraid of the Prachetas and immediately delivered their daughter at the advice of Lord Brahma. Following the orders of the Lord.
We'll just do one at a time. So what are the trees giving the Prachetas?
The Prachetas.
What are they giving? What are they giving? What is the trees giving the Prachetas? A daughter. Whoa.
A daughter.
Whoa! I wonder how that happened. Okay, if you wouldn't mind passing the mic to the next person, please. Thank you.
Following the order of Lord Brahma, all the Prachetas accepted the girl as their wife. Whoa. From the womb of this girl, the son of Lord Brahma named Daksha took birth. Daksha had to take birth from the womb of Marisha due to his disobeying and disrespecting Lord Mahadev, Shiva, which we read about recently. Consequently, he had to give up his body twice.
Whoa. So the return of Daksha. For you that maybe weren't here previously, there's a whole story of how Daksha was very crude and rude to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, being a great devotee of the Lord, was very tolerant towards Daksha's offenses. But because of his offenses, Daksha had some things he had to go through. And so now he's being reborn. See what he does in the next chapter. Okay, 49, please.
His previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Daksha, inspired the supreme will, created all desired living entities in the Chakshusa Manvantara.
51.
After being born, Daksha, by the super excellence of his bodily lustre, covered all others' bodily opulence. Because he was very expert in performing fruitive activity, he was called by the name Daksha, meaning the very expert. Lord Brahma therefore engaged Daksha in the work of generating living entities and maintaining them. In due course of time, Daksha also engaged other Prajapatis, progenitors, in the process of generation and maintenance.
What does Daksha mean? The very expert. Interesting, huh? Okay, let's turn to 44, please. This will be our... Atyanyaraya Lilyat. Atyanyaraya Lilyat. Prachetasya udavataha. Prachetasya udanvataha. Vikshaya kanyap durumaschanam. Viksha vakvanya. Sorry, just a second. Viksha kunpapnya durumaschanam. Gam gam rodyam ivotritaha. Gam gam rodyam ivotritaha. I'm sorry I'm laughing. I'm butchering this, to be honest with you. Sometimes every once in a while I just have difficulty with Sanskrit and I can tell that, Yeah, this is kind of tough and it's just really kind of getting to me. So all I can do is chuckle, Matter of fact, I'm not even going to give it a third try. Let's give it to somebody who can chant very nicely. Vracheta Sunavata. Vikshaya Punyadramaschanam. Gam gam rodam ivrachatahi. Attanirya saliryat. Pretasa udanvataha. Viksha kupanya dharmaschanyam. Gam gam rodam ivotratahi. Okay, before we go to word for word, is any recognized words here? Anybody recognizes? Acheta? Pracheta, which is the sons of Prajapati. Any other words here that are recognizable? You saw water? Chana. This is kind of a tough verse. There's not so many words that are very recognizable. Maybe that makes it a little bit difficult, except for our young scholar here. And actually, Ajit, you did very nicely too. What's up? Ata? Ooh, let's see. Okay, let's do it. Let's see. Close. Good job, Dristadumna. Okay, so we'll read these together. Ata, thereafter. Niryaya, after coming out. Silalat, from the water. Pretetasya, all of the prachetas. Udavataha, of the sea. Vikshaya, having observed. Akupan, becoming very angry. Drumahi, by trees. Chanyam, covered. Gyam, the world. Gyam, the heavenly planets. Rodam, to obstruct. Eva, as if. Uchatahi, very tall. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thereafter, all the prachetas emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, the Prachetas became very angry. Purport. King Prachina Bharasyat left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. The sons, the Prachetas, were ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come out of the water and go to the kingdom of their father in order to take care of that kingdom. However, when they came out, they saw that everything had been neglected due to the king's absence. They first observed that food grains were not being produced and that there were no agricultural activities. Indeed, the surface of the world was practically covered by very tall trees. It seemed as though these trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. The Prachetas became very angry when they saw the surface of the globe covered in this way. They desired that the land be cleared for crops. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain, because we find rainfall over the sea. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting land for agricultural purposes. People can keep cows, and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottages. In this way, the economic problem of humanity can be solved. At the present moment, there are many vacant lands throughout the world, and if they are properly utilized, there will be no scarcity of food. As far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of yajna that attracts rain. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Yajnad Bhavanti Bhutani Prajanyad Ana Sambhavaha Agnad Bhavati Prajano Yagna Karma Samud Bhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. By performing sacrifice, men will have sufficient rainfall and crops. Sorry? Oh, Hare Krishna. So in this translate. By performing sacrifice, men will have sufficient. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll get to it. Thank you. Okay, so in the translation, it says that they saw that all the trees and land had grown very tall, and the trees had covered the entire surface of the world. So, what is the explanation of why the trees are so tall and they are covering the whole world?
The king that was supposed to take care of the world, he renounced everything. So then, yeah, that's why the trees are overgrown all over the world.
So there's no king. Without the king, then things aren't being taken care of nicely. And so the trees have been covering the whole land. And what's the issue that comes from the trees covering the whole land? There's no food. The trees, depending on what kind of trees, don't produce too much food, but the best way to produce food is by food grains. So like dals, lentils, and rice, right? And it says that in the translation that the Prachetas became very angry at this. And why are they angry? We give the mic to.
Because the trees had become unruly?
The trees have become unruly. This is interesting, right? The trees have become unruly. Do you expand on what the trees are doing to become unruly?
Well, they're taking over I guess they're taking over land that they were probably not supposed to, that was meant for agricultural land.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada says that if given the opportunity, the plants and the trees, they're so, you could say, lusty, that they would take over the world very quickly if it wasn't for humans properly taking care of such things. And so the trees here become unruly in that they're blocking the pathway to heaven, it's saying. So they're becoming very tall. Why might else by the Prachetas be angry?
Because they're like, Dad, you had one job, you know. We were doing our, you know, our penance, and we were worshiping the Lord in the water, but we had faith in you. We trusted you that you were going to take care of things while we're gone, and we come back and we just left everyone and everything.
Yeah, you could say that this is the Prachetas' compassion. They're upset because the people of the world weren't being taken care of properly, or the living entities of the world weren't being taken care of properly. And so their anger is that these trees have become disobedient, and so that causes from one living entity's disobedience or living not in alignment with nature, causes suffering of other living entities in nature, right? So they're very angry about this. And then Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, he says, it's not a fact that jungles and trees, this was very interesting to me, it's not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain because we find rainfall all over the sea, all over the sea. Because we find rainfall over the sea. So why is Srila Prabhupada mentioning this? What's his purpose of mentioning that, the rainfall is all over the earth, not just in jungles? Drista.
It's about to die. I was thinking Krishna makes the same argument in the 10th canto to his father. When they wanted to worship Indra, Krishna made the point that rain is falling all over the planet. There's no need to worship Indra because it comes, naturally.
What a connection. Wow, Drista. I really like that. Krishna, even in his pastimes, explaining. Any other thoughts of why Srila Prabhupada's mentioning, what other angles we might look at, him explaining that this is kind of a perspective of science, right? Modern day science is that our jungles are needed to be protected because they are rainfall. They're a great source of rainfall. But Srila Prabhupada's giving an argument that there might be an how should I say this? An over emphasis, thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking, on the jungle, because the rain is falling in so many different places. And then he gives a reason, or he gives the reason really why rain is falling, or there might be a shortage of rain. And what is that? Srila Prabhupada gives the performance of sacrifice, yajna. So in the end, Srila Prabhupada's quoting a Bhagavad Gita verse, right? And he's explaining that by men's sacrifice, food grains come, or rains come. So what is sacrifice? What does this mean? If somebody was new to Krishna consciousness or coming and they heard this word sacrifice, how would you describe the sacrifices that allow for food grains and rains? Anybody? Religious activities, but what does that look like, religious activities? And kirtan? By performing kirtan, we please the Lord and all of. Yeah, so these activities which are meant to please Krishna are sacrifices. Those activities which are meant to please ourself, or not even ourself, but our body, are called material activities, right? And so as a soul, because we're not this body, that we're the spirit soul, we're actually meant to engage in this purpose, which is called sacrifice. Or, it seems like you hear the word sacrifice and you're like, oh my gosh, what does that say? But it's so simple. It's really not that, out. It's not really a concept that's so much outside of our lives, right? We all have to work. We have to wake up. We'll have some activity we have to do. And so if that activity is with the consciousness to please Krishna, then it becomes sacrifice. But if that activity is done for the purpose of pleasing myself or the extension of myself, what's the extensions of myself? I mean, what are some examples? Yeah, our children, our family, our country, our organizations. So we think like this. We think that those things that are attached to me are mine, right? These are all based on a bodily concept. And so if our activities are there just to please these things, then they become material activities and they become binding. And we actually are living a life that isn't in alignment with nature. Because actually nature really wants us to be devotees, right? It really wants us to be living in a way of that's natural to our devotional service. But Srila Prabhupada in this purport gives us a formula, a peace formula, you could say, or a formula to live in alignment with nature. And what is that he says? Anybody remember? It's very dear to devotees. Very, very dear to devotees. Ah, yes. Cows. He says, one need only work to produce grains and take care of cows. Yeah, I can understand why it could be confusing. But in this purport, Srila Prabhupada gives a nice formula about how to live peaceably or in line with nature, right? He says, one need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. So, in our lives, though, that might be not so practical, right? Raise your hand if you have land that you can have cows on. Wow. None of us, right? Was that? My mom does. Very nice. Who has farmland or land that they can produce grains on? My mom does. Oh, wow. We need to move to Prema's mom's house. Wow. Right? So this becomes something like, how is this practical in my life? Well, in our situation right now, it might not be so practical. But as mentioned before, that we can figure out in our life how to do the proper sacrifice for our situation, right? So we might be working. We might work 40 hours a week, and then our boss gives us a paycheck, and we take a small amount of that, and we offer it to the Lord. And then we really get a connection that, oh, I'm doing this activity not just for myself, but for the pleasure of the Lord. And we really start to connect that my work is my activities, my sacrifice. And then we can even, see that we can take part of that to donate to organizations or farms that are doing this, right? So we can become part of this formula that Srila Prabhupada has given us to cultivate human life that's in line with nature. But I thought I'd take it a little bit even more personal or more practical for some of us. And that we also have a nature. We also live with nature. We have a certain abilities, gifts, demeanors, attitudes that we have each individually. And so we really should try to understand that what our nature is and try to how we can use that in Krishna's service. And so in that way, we can water or feed those characteristics or those natures that are which really help us in our devotional service. And then we can cut down those things. We can cut down those things that aren't helping us in our service. Those things that are an impediment. Those big trees in our life. What are your trees? Some people would call these weeds, right? So are we pulling and cultivating properly our nature? And one of the best ways to do this, to understand how to cultivate our nature nicely, is by the association with devotees. This is our way we can understand the weeds that are growing and how to cultivate nicely. Because sometimes it can be difficult to understand what trees are appropriate, that are needed, what grains are needed. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is it's sometimes it's hard to understand what characteristics or natures we need to, or attitudes that we need to cut down and what we need to water. And when we're in association with devotees and reading scripture nicely, right, we have three things, right? What do we say? Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. So we have the mentors, the spiritual masters that help us understand, give us perspective in life about how to live a devotional life or to be aligned with our nature. We have Shastra. We have the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam that we read, and they help us to understand how to live our life in alignment. And then we have other devotees that we can reveal our minds to and ask for help, right? Yes, exactly. Got it. It's very nice, right? Okay. 8:19. We started a little bit late today, but I'll open it up for questions, comments, thoughts. Yes. Sam. Sam, right? Yes. Will anybody grab a microphone for Sam? Yeah. Are we going to get a question about Yamaraj?
Not really, but I sometimes when I was in the mental hospital, I was cursing Krishna out for being on corridor meds in the mental hospital. I was cursing Krishna out. You think Yamadu's get me for cursing at Krishna?
What do you think?
I'm not sure.
Yeah? What have you heard before from devotees?
Oh, what I heard like that they probably won't get me. So
why?
Talking about the Yamadutas.
Yeah.
They know like I'm on medication for schizophrenia. That's what my doctor diagnosed me with schizophrenia.
I see.
Yeah,
so Sam, what I was thinking is that I've noticed that you come around the temple quite often. And whenever you can, you come here and you sing Hare Krishna. And so the person who does this, what are they called? A devotee. So Sam, you're a devotee. So Sam, there's situations in our life where sometimes we get upset with Krishna. And we might yell at him or be mad at him.
That's what I did before.
Yeah, right? I'm not saying this is something I would suggest frequently. But if we do get in that situation where it just happens, you know what Krishna thinks? What does he think?
He think I'm okay.
He thinks you're okay?
Sometimes I thought he gonna come down as a young teenage guy and pull on my hair like he did his evil uncle Kansa. You think even though I act like his evil uncle Kansa in the mental hospital, you think Krishna gonna come down and kill me?
You'd be very fortunate. You'd be very fortunate. See, what I was trying to say, Sam, what I'm trying to explain is that anything in relationship to Krishna is absolute. It's perfect. So even if we get upset at Krishna and curse him, Krishna takes it very lovingly. Oh, this person loves me so much that they got mad at me. See, a non-devotee, what will they get upset with? They'll start blaming so many different things. They'll start blaming their situation, their parents, their this, and that. But the devotee, they only see Krishna as the source of everything. And so, Krishna, why have you put me in this situation? But also, at the same time, the devotee is not only questioning or maybe upset with Krishna, they're also asking him in humility, what am I supposed to understand from this, Krishna? What can I do to get closer to you? So there's these nice dualities in this sense, the upsetness with Krishna, but the devotee also at the same time has humility to try to understand what Krishna is teaching them so that they can live a life that becomes closer to Krishna. Yes, Prema.
Hare Krishna. One of my mentors, Prabhupada Priya, she's a mom, and she had a little daughter, and she had to tell her daughter, you can't do this, you can't do this, and her daughter got so mad at her, she started throwing a temper tantrum and stormed off. And then the daughter stayed in her room for a little bit, and when the daughter got tired of staying in her room, she came and she cried and she hugged her mom, and she cried to her mom and took shelter of her mom. And of course the mom is going to be there either way, it's a little kid. So in the same way, that's how Krishna sees us. We're like a little kid. We get mad at Krishna and we storm off, but then who else do we have to turn to? We don't have anyone else. We have to go to him when we want to feel better too. So he's there for us.
Priya mentions in that story that she could realize that her daughter had nowhere else to go to. Her daughter finally said, well, gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to come to my mom. So I appreciate, this is a really good point, right? We as devotees also, we can be mad at Krishna, but eventually we go, yes, but who else are we going to go to? Who else is going to take care of us? Who else is going to protect us? Can we, maybe if somebody has a question or comment, particularly with this verse and what we discussed in class today. Anybody have any thoughts, comments, questions? Dristadumna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It was interesting. Prabhupada emphasizes cow protection quite a lot. And here we're seeing it again too, is that it's a very big, it's how we cooperate with nature and stuff like that. I'm kind of wondering, why don't we do it so much, or why does it seem so hard for us to? And it's hard work and stuff, and why don't I do it? Why am I saying why don't we do it? Why don't I do it myself? But do you have any thoughts?
This is interesting. I was also kind of thinking similar in the sense when I was reading it, because I was going, gosh, this isn't so practical in most of our lives. But then there was a sadness that it isn't practical in most of our life. I was kind of feeling sad, man, we're devotees. Srila Prabhupada is encouraging us so much, and yet we might be neglecting this, right? We really need to understand who we are in our service to Krishna. And we should try to understand how we're serving the Sankirtan movement so that we can get into a situation where this is most practical for people. See, in this life, in this age, in this time right now, people are very materialistic and they're very, interested in the sense objects. And so to help people to raise their consciousness, we really need to spread this understanding of Krishna consciousness so that people can take up this. So we can read like this and we can say, Krishna, what can I do to help cow protection? And then we can understand that, what is our service? How can we? How are we plugging into the Sankirtan movement? Because the Sankirtan movement, the Yuga Dharma right now is Harinam, is Sankirtan, right? Is chanting of the holy names. And so, I guess my thought is we really need to think about how we're doing that, how we're plugging into the Sankirtan movement, so that we can start cultivating, we can cut down the weeds of materialism for society, who can then start to water the appropriate things, and then people will start living a life more in nature, natural alignment, and then cow protection and cow, these things of food grains and cow protection can become more prominent. Any other thoughts? Ajit? Oh, I don't think so.
Gracias. Just a quick thought about at the end of this verse. It says at this time the Prashadas became very angry, and maybe that's why he wanted to share something, like the reason why Sam was doing what he was doing. That's all.
Yeah, no problem. Sam quite often is bringing up the Yamadutas and is concerned.
Just on the point of cow protection, there's one guru, Bhakti Raghava Maharaj, and he's very big on Varnashram Dharma, and he has disciples in Quebec, so he gave like a whole seminar on that. And Prabhupada said half his mission wasn't complete, that we should build farm communities, but the question is how. So, Prabhupada, he did say brahmacharis, celibate student life is more so in the city. You're meant for preaching, but grihasta is more so supposed to be in the countryside on farms. But then again, the jobs are in the city, usually more practically speaking. So I think, theoretically we understand things, but putting them into practice is a different thing. I don't know. I grew up in the city, that's all I know. So I didn't really add anything to the conversation.
Well, at least for me, it brought up you reminded me why I brought up at the end living in our nature. Because quite often we're not living very much in alignment with our nature. And as a movement, if we can encourage people to understand their nature more and start to align with that nature and do activities that are really fulfilling in their nature, then people will start understanding when they're meant to be part of the agricultural community, right? What I found, at least in my life, when I started to understand my nature more and I started working to it and started to really to try to focus on, at my time, place, and circumstance, how can I manifest that nature in ways? Even though I could see that my life was out of nature. As for instance, the career, my job, my things were not in line with that. But within there, what could I do that was in my nature, or maybe in my hobbies, or these activities? And so what I try to do is to lessen my focus on my job or my economic development and really focus on more of what's my nature, what's the things that I can do, how can I use my time properly? Because sometimes what we do is we get just so frustrated, we just go and throw our hands up. What, how can I don't see how I can get to this position, and we get frustrated and we quit. But if we are determined, enthusiastic to find ways that we can align with our nature and to dive into Sankirtan movement, we start to see that things start to loosen up. We get more time, from what I found, is more time to engage in that way. And so Krishna arranges something for us to be able to engage more in our nature. And so my point being is that if we're encouraging that, people who are in cow protection are going to start to go, oh, maybe I can go to the farm for the weekend. Oh, I can't do anything. What can I do? My nature is to help cow protection and to be a farming and these things. But what can I do? I live in the country. Oh, well, you could, on the weekend, once a month, go out to the farm and go do these things. So if we encourage this or I can spend an hour a day over at the Garada Kalashanji Community Garden. And, that is part of my nature. And so if we, so I appreciate you reminding me why I was going with the fact of trying to encourage people to work with their nature and understand it and do activities that they can that encourage them in that. Go ahead. I think my mom had something to mention too.
And just a quick point on that, I was just thinking, I wonder if, like, let's say in a community, every devotee who kind of realize, my nature is like I'm Vaishya, like I'm meant to work, child protection, that they can have like a WhatsApp group, like ISKCON Dallas Vaishyas or something. They can all like work together.
What a wonderful idea. Yeah. Or it can be like, anyways, the painting team. Yeah, it's a wonderful idea. Yes, Mom.
I was thinking that a way that devotees promote cow protection is to promote vegetarianism and to promote the benefits of vegetarianism, and also to try not to work in industries where they sell beef. And those are ways to help protect cows.
Yeah, something very practical, right? We can
You can
talk
do that
about it
wherever you're at, in the city, in the country, no matter where you're at, you can do that.
Yeah, very nice point. Nortam Prabhu.
I had some discussions with ranchers that raise cattle, and they told me if there was a way they could make the same amount of money or something close without killing cows, they would never do it. They said they raised these cows since their childhood. I was telling them how our temple buys like 125 gallons of milk every week. And they said, well, if we could figure out a way to make a living, because that's all they have is that land and those cows. But talking to ranchers and coming up with an alternative, like maybe growing whole grains or something, and speaking with our government leaders, to actually help them, supplement them until they can make a change. Like this devotee who comes here, Chaitanya Prabhu, he's best friends with the senator of Texas. They're friends. And somebody like that could implement a bill that would, help subsidize ranchers to make a conversion to a more healthy and sustainable way of living.
Thank you, Nortam. This is a good point that education, a part of our society as ISKCON is Brahminical, right? And as Brahmins, we have a responsibility to educate people properly, right? And to come up with ideas of how, I really appreciate this point that people they don't want to be part of an industry that's so harsh and cruel. They don't know what to do. If we don't have people thinking about and encouraging and showing them the way, then what are they going to do? You're going to do the same thing that you've always done. I don't see how to get above me on this. Kind of like I was saying about devotees and making sure that we're checking in with ourselves to see if we're engaging in Sankirtan movement. What can I do? I live in the city. Can I do anything for agriculture or for cow protection? Well, yeah, you can. Maybe it's not exactly what you want to do, but we can move more towards it. So we can do things like educate people through WhatsApp groups that are designed for their nature. It's a great idea, Jet. Okay, 8:36. I think we are done with Srimad Bhagavatam class today. Thank you, dear devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakal patarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Antikoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.